by the great creator. You understand? And they can't stop that. So if it gotta be, if it's peace, then let it be peace. If it's war, then let it be war. Let not your heart be troubled. That's what the Savior says to us. Let not our hearts be troubled. You understand? We trust in God. Let us trust in Him. You understand? You trust in the King of Kings. Trust in I and I. You understand? And prove all things. You understand? Prove all things and hold fast that which is good. That's not really what I wanted to get into while we wait here for this next thing to percolate. I wanted to touch on the fall of Adam. You know, we hear about Adam's fall. The fall of Adam. The fall of man. You know, the creation and the fall. What's the truth about the creation and the fall? Well, the first thing we have to get is a right overstanding of what the fall of man, the so-called fall of Adam, the Christological, mythological, as they have made it appear and seem to be, the fall of Adam. Is it a historical thing that happened? Is it a metaphysical thing? Is it a parable? Some say the Garden of Eden was a parable, so forth and so on. But the logic, you know what I'm saying, the logic and the imro of the King of Kings, in and according to his Christ, shows us that the fall of man, the so-called fall of Adam, is really speaking to us about the fall of the black man. So when we speak about the fall of Adam, the fall of Adam, we're speaking about the fall of the black man. Now, with the fall of the black man, what's very interesting is that you can look at the biblical Garden of Eden and the fall of man, and then you can look at Willie Lynch's How to Make a Slave, and you begin to notice, there is something very similar in spirit, you understand, in essence, something that you can't really put your finger on, but you say there's a connection between these two things, because the fall of Adam and the fall of Eve is symbolic, is a parabolical logic for the fall of the black man and the fall of the black woman and the fall of that ancient monarchy, that ancient nobility, the ancient so-called gods, when we were gods. Do you remember the time? Do you remember the time when we were gods? Now, archaeologists and archaeology shows us that many of the ancient civilizations had a whole lot of blackness to them. You understand? I mean, we can see it with our eyes, and it becomes apparent as we learn more and more truth about these ancient cultures. We see the black connection, the general black consciousness, you understand, or semi-consciousness, really. We can see the connection with black people. But then we don't see that within the last so-called 6,000 years of history. I mean, we see rare instances of black civilization, such as even our Ethiopian Hebrew roots, you understand, which testifies to an oasis in a desert of fallen black humanity. That's why Ethiopia, you understand, and holy Ethiopia is important. But let's just study, just an overview, the fall of Adam. There were physical consequences of the fall. There were psychological consequences of the fall. And there were societal or social consequences of the fall. And there were also spiritual consequences of the fall. Now, within Genesis, or the Orit of Zefitret, Berashit, Ha-Elohim, or God, explains the consequences of the fall for the black man. It says, "Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken, for dust or AFAR you are, and to AFAR you will return." Here again, Adam, the black man, was not cursed. Rather, Ha-Elohim explains the consequences of Adam's, or the ancient prototypical black man's, disobedience to the true God force, the true mind of God. which he fell from. So let's look at this from an overview. The impact of the fall of man, the fall of Adam, is actually speaking to us of the fall of the ancient black man. This is why when we look at, say, ancient Egypt, and we get the true dates of those monuments when they originally was built, we find that the true dates of all those monuments, including the Sphinx and the pyramids, when they originally were built, were prior to the so-called last 6,000 years. You see what I'm saying? And this is one reason that many of these biased and racist scholars would like to allege and like to make believe and make you assume, you understand, that black people couldn't have done it. Not this black people. And they're right about that. It was not this black people, this fallen black race that did those things. It was the prototypical first black race, or when we were Ha-Elohim, when we were so-called gods and kings. That's when we did these things, before the fall of Adam. This is why the Metav Kedus from an Ethiopian Hebraic overstanding is so important. This is why when we now interpret this through an Ethiopic Hebraic spectacle, and we look within our Ethiopic Hebraic scriptures and compare it with what we've been taught in whitewash Christianity and Eurocentric Christianity, and we come to the root and the truth of it, it all becomes clear. All the pieces start to fit together. What Genesis in the Garden of Eden is really talking to us about is not just the so-called general fall of man, but it's speaking specifically about the fall of the black man and the fall of the black woman. Let's look at the impact of the fall. The impact of the fall has an effect on three parties. Let me get this right here. Let's look at the impact of the fall. Let's not look at the impact of the fall of the black man, which has been, in a Christological, mythological sense, been called the fall of Adam, according to the scriptures. Let's look at the impact of the fall of the black man on Satan, on woman, or the black woman, and on black males, and on the black man, from a physical, psychological, a societal, and a spiritual point of view. And as a background modern text that explains this better and makes the connectivity between the scriptures to real life, look at Willie Lynch's How to Make a Slave. Now first, the impact of the fall physically. What is the impact of the fall physically on Satan? Well, according to the scriptures, Satan Sarawit, or his host, the Zendo, or the serpent, is doomed to crawl and to eat dust. Dust is a metaphor for the AFAR, the Asay Mara and the Adey Mara, the whites and the red, Amaras, or the white and the red, original Adamite people. When we speak about the original Adamite people, and we connect the AFAR or the AFAR of the Hebrew and the AFAR or the OFAR, like Ophir, if you look up Ophir, they would say that Ophir has a link with Ethiopia. And when we go to Ethiopia, we find a tribe of people called the AFAR. And among this tribe of people called the AFAR, we find that in ancient times there were the Asay Maras and the Adey Maras, or there were the white and the red Amaras. In other words, the light skin and the dark skin. Now people say, well, how is this? Well, look at the Minoans, the original Greeks. And when you look at their wall paintings,